The soft hum of conversation filled La Manifik, an upscale restaurant known for its exquisite cuisine and intimate ambience. Candles flickered on each table, casting a warm glow that highlighted the delicate arrangement of truffle rosado dishes. In a quiet corner, Chef Antonio stood alone, gazing thoughtfully at a framed photograph of his late son, Luca. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his apron, the memory of that tragic day still fresh in his mind. The doorbell jingled, pulling him from his reverie. Tonight was set to be special, with an exclusive guest booked weeks in advance. Antonio took a deep breath, steeling himself for the night's events. His sous chefs bustled around him, unaware of the storm brewing within their leader. Suddenly, the entrance opened, and Shaquille O'Neal made his grand entrance. The restaurant buzzed with excitement as guests recognized the basketball legend. Shaq's presence was commanding yet approachable, his smile genuine as he was escorted to his reserved table. Antonio watched Shaq with a conflicted heart. Memories of the protest 3 years ago resurfaced, where he lost his beloved son. Seeing Shaq tonight stirred emotions he had long kept buried. He felt a surge of anxiety and pain, knowing that tonight might force him to confront his deepest fears. As Shaq settled into his seat, the maitre d' approached, bowing respectfully. "Mr. O'Neal, welcome to La Manifik. We're honored to have you tonight." Shaq smiled warmly. "Thank you. I've heard wonderful things about your restaurant." Antonio approached the table, his heart pounding. "Mr. O'Neal, welcome. I hope you enjoy your evening." Shaq extended his hand, which Antonio shook firmly. "I'm looking forward to it, chef." Before Shaq could sit, the kitchen door swung open, and Antonio's expression hardened. "I'm sorry, Mr. O'Neal, but we can't serve you tonight." Gasps filled the room. Shaq looked confused, his smile faltering. "Excuse me?" Antonio took a step back, avoiding eye contact. "I'm truly sorry, but due to unforeseen circumstances, we're unable to accommodate your reservation." Shaq's entourage exchanged puzzled glances, while other guests whispered among themselves. The tension was palpable, and Antonio felt his resolve wavering under Shaq's steady gaze. "Is there a problem, chef?" Shaq asked, his voice calm but edged with concern. Antonio swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's personal. Please understand." Shaq nodded slowly, sensing the underlying pain. "All right, chef. I respect your decision." As Antonio retreated to the kitchen, he felt the weight of his actions pressing down on him. The once serene atmosphere now teetered on the edge of chaos, reflecting the turmoil within him. Back in the kitchen, Antonio leaned against the countertop, his mind racing. The confrontation with Shaq had triggered memories he had tried desperately to suppress. 3 years ago, during a peaceful protest, chaos erupted. Amidst the turmoil, his son Luca was lost, a tragedy that left Antonio grappling with guilt and grief. The protest was meant to be a peaceful demonstration for change. Antonio stood alongside his wife Maria, holding Luca's hand tightly as they walked through the crowd. The air was filled with chants for justice and equality. Suddenly, voices turned angry, and the peaceful chants escalated into shouts. Panic ensued as the crowd became unruly. Antonio pushed through the chaos, searching for Luca, but his son was nowhere to be found. The screams of the crowd drowned out his own, and when he finally found Luca, it was too late. Luca had been caught in the turmoil, and Antonio couldn't save him. Tears welled in Antonio's eyes as he clutched the photograph of Luca. "Why does this have to happen again?" he whispered to himself, the pain almost unbearable. Anna, his sous chef, approached cautiously. "Chef, are you okay?" Antonio wiped his tears, trying to compose himself. "It's nothing, Anna. Just some personal matters." Anna placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We're here for you, Antonio. Whatever you need." Antonio nodded, grateful for her support, but unable to shake the memories that Shaq's presence had evoked. He knew he couldn't continue to push through the pain without addressing it, but the thought of facing Shaq directly filled him with dread. As the night progressed, the restaurant remained tense. Guests kept glancing toward Shaq's table, unsure of what had transpired. Antonio moved between the kitchen and dining area, trying to maintain his composure. But the emotional toll was evident. Marco, his trusted sous chef, approached him quietly. Chef, maybe we should talk to Shaq. Maybe there's something we can do to make this right. Antonio shook his head. No, Marco, it's not that simple. Anna joined them, her eyes filled with concern. Chef, holding on to this anger isn't helping. Maybe reaching out could help you heal. Antonio sighed, the burden of his grief pressing down on him. I don't know if I can do that right now. It's too raw. Marco placed a hand on his back. We all have our ways of coping, but isolating yourself isn't the answer. Antonio looked around the bustling kitchen, seeing the worry in his staff's eyes. I appreciate your concern, but I need to handle this on my own. As the night wore on, Antonio found himself alone in the kitchen, the noise of the restaurant fading into the background. He stared at Luca's photograph, contemplating the path he had chosen and the walls he had built around his grief. Later that evening, as the restaurant began to wind down, Shaq approached Antonio once more. This time his demeanor was softer, more understanding. Chef Antonio, may I have a moment? Antonio looked up, surprise evident on his face. What is it, Shaq? Shaq took a deep breath, his presence calming. I wanted to apologize if my presence tonight stirred up anything for you. I didn't mean to cause any distress. Antonio felt a mix of emotions, anger, confusion, and a glimmer of hope. It's not your fault, Shaq. It's something I need to deal with. Shaq nodded empathetically. I understand. If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Antonio hesitated, then finally spoke, his voice cracking. I lost my son 3 years ago during a protest. Seeing you tonight brought back those memories. I couldn't bear to be here. Shaq's eyes softened. I'm so sorry for your loss, Antonio. Losing a child is unimaginable. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. Antonio felt a tear slip down his cheek, the sincerity in Shaq's words reaching deep into his wounded heart. Thank you, Shaq. I didn't know how to handle this. Shaq offered a genuine smile. Sometimes sharing the burden can make it a little lighter. You're not alone. The conversation hung in the air, a bridge between two men united by their struggles and humanity. Antonio felt a sense of relief, a small step toward healing. Over the following weeks, Antonio found himself reflecting on the encounter with Shaq. The empathy and understanding he received sparked a desire to confront his pain rather than avoid it. He began opening up to his staff, sharing parts of his story that he had long kept hidden. One evening, Antonio called a staff meeting. I need to share something personal with all of you. 3 years ago, I lost my son Luca during a protest. The guilt of not being able to save him has haunted me ever since. The room was silent, the weight of his revelation sinking in. I pushed myself to keep the restaurant running, to distract myself from the pain. But tonight, seeing Shaq reminded me that I can't keep running from my grief. Maria, his wife, stepped forward, her eyes filled with love and support. Antonio, we're here for you. Whatever you need, we'll support you. Marco nodded, his expression resolute. Chef, you're not alone. Let us help you through this. Anna added, maybe reaching out for professional help could make a difference. It's okay to seek support. Antonio felt a sense of relief wash over him. Thank you, all of you. Your support means everything to me. Determined to heal, Antonio sought counseling and began attending support groups. He also started sharing his story publicly, using his platform to raise awareness about grief and the importance of seeking help. The restaurant became a safe space not just for his guests but for himself as well. Shaq continued to visit La Manifik, their friendship growing stronger as they supported each other through their respective challenges. Together, they organized community events focused on mental health and healing, transforming the restaurant into a hub of compassion and understanding. One evening during a community dinner, Antonio addressed the guests. Luca's table stands as a testament to the power of forgiveness and healing. We are here to support each other, to share our stories, and to build a stronger, more compassionate community. The guests responded with applause, moved by Antonio's honesty and resilience. Shaq stood beside him, offering a proud smile. Antonio, you've turned your pain into something beautiful. I'm honored to be part of this journey with you. As the nights continued, Antonio felt a renewed sense of purpose. The restaurant thrived, not just as a place for exquisite dining, but as a sanctuary for healing and connection. The bonds formed within its walls transcended the typical guest experience, fostering a community built on empathy and mutual support. The media frenzy surrounding the incident continued to intensify. News outlets covered the story from every angle, with headlines ranging from Chef Antonio sparks outrage to Shaquille O'Neal's grace under pressure. The restaurant became a national hotspot, with reporters and camera crews clamoring for exclusive interviews. Inside the kitchen, Antonio felt the weight of the world bearing down on him. He glanced at the ever-increasing flood of news coverage, his mind racing with questions about his future. Is this really happening? What have I done? He wondered aloud, his voice tinged with fear and regret. Maria, his wife, approached him gently. Antonio, you need to address this. People are hungry for answers. Antonio shook his head, his eyes distant. I can't. It's too much. Maria placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You don't have to do this alone. Let us help you. With a heavy sigh, Antonio finally admitted, I lost my son, Luca, 3 years ago. He was caught in that protest, and I was too busy to notice. The guilt has been eating me alive. Maria looked at him with empathy. I'm so sorry, Antonio. That's a tragedy no one should have to endure alone. Antonio's voice cracked as he continued. Seeing Shaq here tonight reminded me of that day. It's like reliving my loss all over again. The revelation of Antonio's personal loss added depth to the public's understanding of his actions. The media began to shift their narrative, focusing more on the emotional journey of the chef and less on the initial conflict. As news coverage evolved, the public's perception softened, and more people began to empathize with Antonio's pain. The support from both the community and Shaq provided Antonio with the strength to confront his past and consider a path towards healing. Maybe forgiveness is the key, Antonio mused, finding solace in the support around him. It's time to move forward and find peace. The staff remained by his side, their support unwavering as Antonio began to embrace the path towards healing. The once tumultuous night had transformed into a catalyst for change, paving the way for a brighter future for both Antonio and Manifik. With the restaurant on the brink of a public meltdown, Shaquille O'Neal took matters into his own hands, seeking a personal resolution to the conflict. He stood up, towering over the kitchen counter, and approached Antonio directly. Chef Antonio, I need to talk to you, Shaq stated, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Antonio looked up, his face a mixture of anger and pain. What do you want, Shaq? Shaq took a deep breath, his demeanor calm yet commanding. I came here to have a meal, just like any other guest. But I can see you're fighting something inside. Can we talk? Antonio hesitated, his resolve wavering. I don't have to serve you tonight. Shaq's expression softened, his eyes reflecting a deep understanding. I understand you're going through something, but refusing to serve me won't solve it. I've faced my own losses and pains. Let's not make enemies. Antonio's facade began to crumble as Shaq's genuine empathy reached him. It's not about you, Shaq. It's about my past and the pain I can't escape. Shaq stepped closer, his voice gentle. I had no idea. I'm truly sorry for your loss. I didn't mean to trigger your pain. Antonio looked into Shaq's eyes, seeing the sincerity and compassion there. Every time I see your name, it reminds me of that day at the protest when I lost Luca. It's unbearable. Shaq placed a hand on Antonio's shoulder, his presence comforting. Holding on to this pain won't bring Luca back. I'm here to share a meal, not to add to your burden. Antonio felt a flicker of hope as Shaq's words began to bridge the gap between them. I can't just forget what happened, but maybe it's time to let go. Shaq nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. Forgiveness isn't easy, but it's a step towards healing. Let's find a way to move forward together. The tension in the room began to dissipate as both men realized the depth of their shared humanity. The staff watched in awe as the confrontation transformed into a moment of genuine connection and empathy. I forgive you, Antonio, Shaq said softly. We all carry burdens. Let's help each other carry them. Antonio felt the weight of his guilt begin to lift, replaced by a sense of relief and gratitude. Thank you, Shaq. I appreciate your understanding. Shaq smiled, offering his hand in friendship. We all carry burdens. Let's help each other carry them. As Antonio shook Shaq's hand, a sense of peace settled over him. The once high-stakes confrontation had transformed into a powerful moment of forgiveness and reconciliation, marking the beginning of a new chapter for both men and Manifik. The public's perception began to shift as the true story behind the confrontation emerged. Social media buzzed with support for Antonio's personal struggle and Shaq's act of forgiveness. Hashtags like, forgive Antonio and respect Chef Antonio began to trend, reflecting the growing understanding and empathy among the public. Guests who had initially been outraged now found themselves moved by the heartfelt exchange. Did you see Shaq and the chef just talking like that? That's amazing, one guest remarked to another, a newfound respect in his voice. Inside the kitchen, Antonio sat alone, reflecting on the events of the night. He stared blankly at his reflection in a mirror, the noise of the media barely audible in the background. Was my pain worth the chaos? Can I truly move forward? He wondered aloud, his voice filled with uncertainty. Shaq approached Antonio again, offering a comforting presence. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here, he said, his tone sincere. Antonio looked up, gratitude evident in his eyes. Thank you, Shaq. I don't know what I'd do without your support. As the days passed, the restaurant received an outpouring of support. Reports began to focus on the story of forgiveness and understanding, rather than the initial conflict. News outlets praised Antonio's courage in confronting his pain and Shaq's compassionate response. Antonio's internal struggle continued, but the growing public support and Shaq's unwavering friendship provided him with the strength to consider forgiveness and the possibility of healing. He realized that holding on to his pain was only causing more suffering, and perhaps it was time to let go. Maybe forgiveness is the key, Antonio mused, finding solace in the support around him. It's time to move forward and find peace. The staff remained by his side, their support unwavering as Antonio began to embrace the path towards healing. The once tumultuous night had transformed into a catalyst for change, paving the way for a brighter future for both Antonio and Manifik. With the weight of his actions pressing down on him, Antonio made a brave decision. He decided to publicly acknowledge his mistake and seek forgiveness, hoping to heal both himself and the damage done to the restaurant's reputation. One evening, Antonio gathered his staff and a few remaining guests in the dining area. His voice trembled, but remained clear as he addressed the room. I need to talk to you all about what happened tonight. Refusing service to Shaquille O'Neal was wrong. My grief clouded my judgment, and I let it affect my professionalism and your experience. The room fell silent, the weight of his apology hanging in the air. Antonio took a deep breath, continuing, I've been carrying a heavy burden of guilt and pain from the loss of my son, Luca. But holding on to that pain has only hurt me and those around me. I want to apologize to Shaq and to everyone here. I'm truly sorry for my actions. Shaq, who had been watching from the corner, stepped forward. Antonio, I forgive you. We all carry burdens, and I respect your courage in facing yours. Let's move forward together. Antonio felt a sense of relief wash over him as Shaq's forgiveness resonated deeply. Thank you, Shaq. Your understanding means more than you know. The staff and guests responded with soft applause, showing their support and understanding. Antonio's heartfelt apology and Shaq's act of forgiveness began to mend the strained relationships, paving the way for a new beginning. As the room gradually filled with a sense of unity and forgiveness, Antonio realized that letting go of his pain was the first step towards healing. The high-stakes confrontation had transformed into a moment of mutual understanding and compassion, marking the beginning of a new chapter for both men and Manifik. With Shaq's support and the restaurant's newfound sense of purpose, Antonio decided to transform Manifik into a community hub. He gathered his staff and announced the restaurant's new mission. From today forward, Manifik will be more than just a place for exclusive dining. We will host community events and support those in need. The staff exchanged surprised glances, but their support was unwavering. That's a fantastic idea, Antonio. Thank you for leading us in this new direction, Maria said, her eyes shining with pride. Shaq stepped forward, his presence a reassuring pillar of support. I'd like to help organize the first community dinner. Let's make it happen together. Antonio smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Thank you, Shaq. Your involvement means a lot. The restaurant began to buzz with activity as preparations for the first community dinner were underway. Long tables were set up to accommodate families from local shelters and community centers. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation and excitement as guests arrived, bringing smiles and a sense of unity. The inaugural community dinner was a resounding success. Families gathered to share meals, stories, and laughter, creating a warm and inclusive environment. Antonio moved through the crowd, personally greeting each guest and ensuring everyone felt welcome. A local family member approached him, gratitude evident in her eyes. "Thank you for opening your doors to us. It means the world." Antonio felt a surge of pride and fulfillment. "It's my pleasure. We're here to support each other and build a stronger community." Shaq worked alongside Antonio in the kitchen, helping to prepare meals and engaging with the guests. Their collaboration symbolized the unity and mutual respect that had developed between them, reinforcing the restaurant's commitment to its new mission. The positive reception from the community was overwhelming. News outlets began to cover the story of Luca's Table, highlighting the restaurant's transformation and the powerful message of forgiveness and inclusivity. The public's perception of Antonio shifted from anger to admiration, recognizing his courage in turning pain into purpose. As the community dinners continued, Luca's Table flourished, becoming a beacon of hope and unity in the city. The restaurant was no longer known for its exclusivity, but for its heart and dedication to fostering a supportive and inclusive environment for all. Months passed, and Shaq remained a frequent supporter of Luca's Table. He often volunteered at events, helping to organize activities and fundraisers, further strengthening his bond with Antonio and the restaurant's mission. One evening, Antonio received a letter from Shaq. He opened it carefully, reading the heartfelt message inside. "Dear Antonio, I wanted to take a moment to express how proud I am of everything you've achieved with Luca's Table. Your strength and openness have not only transformed your life, but have also touched the lives of so many others. If there's ever anything I can do to help, let me know. With admiration and respect, Shaq." Antonio felt a deep sense of gratitude as he framed the letter and hung it on the restaurant's wall. It became a symbol of hope and the enduring friendship between him and Shaq. Luca's Table continued to thrive, attracting a diverse range of patrons who celebrated its inclusive and compassionate ethos. Community members traveled from far and wide to attend the dinners, sharing their own stories of forgiveness and healing. The restaurant became renowned not just for its delicious meals, but for its mission to bring people together and support those in need. Antonio's story inspired others to embrace empathy and forgiveness in their own lives, creating a ripple effect of positive change throughout the community. Shaq and Antonio worked together on various initiatives, from mentorship programs for young chefs to charity events supporting local shelters. Their partnership exemplified the transformative power of forgiveness and the strength found in unity and support. One evening, after a particularly successful community dinner, Antonio and Shaq sat together in the kitchen, reflecting on their journey. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Shaq said, clapping Antonio on the back. "Yes, and there's still so much more we can do," Antonio replied with a smile. Their enduring friendship became a cornerstone of Luca's Table, exemplifying the legacy of forgiveness, love, and second chances that had transformed both their lives and the community around them. The grand finale community dinner was a vibrant celebration of unity and compassion. Long tables were adorned with colorful decorations, and guests from all backgrounds mingled and shared meals together. The atmosphere was filled with laughter, joy, and a deep sense of community. Antonio stood at the entrance, greeting each guest with a warm smile. "Welcome to Luca's Table, where everyone is family." Shaq worked alongside him in the kitchen, their camaraderie evident as they prepared meals and engaged with the guests. Their bond had grown strong, rooted in mutual respect and the shared mission of fostering forgiveness and inclusivity. During the dinner, Antonio took a moment to address the guests, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Luca's Table stands as a beacon of hope and unity. We're here to support each other, share our stories, and build a stronger community together." A young boy approached Antonio, his eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Chef. This place has changed my life." Antonio knelt down, smiling warmly. "I'm glad you're here, son. Together we can make a difference." As the night progressed, Antonio and Shaq shared stories and laughter, their friendship a testament to the power of forgiveness and understanding. The restaurant thrived as a symbol of hope, with every community dinner reinforcing its mission of love and inclusivity. As the final guests left, Antonio and Shaq stood outside the restaurant, the stars twinkling above them. "You've changed my life, Antonio," Shaq said softly. "No, Shaq, you changed mine. You taught me that even in pain, there's room for kindness," Antonio replied, feeling a sense of peace and fulfillment he hadn't known in years. Their journey had come full circle, transforming Luca's table into a legacy of forgiveness, love, and second chances. The restaurant stood as a testament to the enduring human spirit and the profound impact of empathy and compassion. Antonio looked around the bustling restaurant, now filled with happy faces and united hearts. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for the support of his staff, the understanding of his community, and the friendship of Shaq. Together, they had created something truly special, a place where forgiveness could heal and love could transform lives. As the night came to a close, Antonio and Shaq shared a final, heartfelt conversation under the stars. "Thank you for believing in me and supporting this journey," Antonio said. Shaq smiled, his eyes reflecting the same gratitude. "Thank you for opening your heart and showing us the power of forgiveness." Their enduring friendship became the heart of Luca's table, inspiring others to embrace forgiveness and positive change in their own lives. The story of Antonio and Shaq spread far and wide, touching the hearts of people everywhere and reinforcing the message that it's never too late to change and find peace through love and understanding. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. Share your thoughts about kindness, forgiveness, and second chances. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Let's spread the message of love and hope together.